So once you are connected to the computer science department server, you'll be presented with a command line interface that you'll need to learn how to use in order to be able to complete your assignments for the course. So the department server is a Ubuntu based installation. It requires you to become familiar with Linux or Unix based commands, and I'm going to just walk you through a few of those commands now. So when you successfully log in, you'll be presented with what's known as a command prompt. This is where you type the commands. So the command prompt is usually preceded with some sort of useful information about the machine that you're on. So in this case, it's my username at machine name colon, and then my current working directory is presented, which in this case is my home directory. And normally your home directory is presented with a tilde character. In my case, it actually means /home /mic Robloth, right? My username in the case on the server. So once I'm on here, I can the most basic thing is to be able to figure out what files you have in a particular directory. So if I do ls, I have an empty directory right now because I haven't done much on this new department server yet. But if I were to start up an editor like VI, I type in VI and go into insert mode and say this is some wonderful text, right? Period, escape, colon, WQ, and have it write it out the disk. Tells me that there's no file name because I forgot to provide it. So if I exit out the disk and try it again, but provide a file name, test.txt or something like that. Come in here, go into insert mode, again say is this some wonderful text, period, colon, W, right click, and that'll actually create a text file. And if I do a listing again, it'll show me the text file. I can do a variety of different variations of the listing, such as ls-l, to get more information about the file, like who owns it, what group has access to the file, the general just permissions on the file itself, which is I can read and write to the file, my group can read and write to the file, which just happens to be me, and what the rest of the world can do, which is to read the file. If they have access inside this directory, which they wouldn't, but if they did, they could. The date when it was created, July 9th, and the size is 29 bytes, and the time when it was created, 12/12, and the name of the file. So there's a bunch of different things that you can do. So just I would encourage you to explore around with that command. You can type the ID command to get a sense of who you are. So in this case, your user is MIC Robloth in this case. It tells me what group ID I'm assigned to and what other groups I'm also a part of, because you can be a member of multiple groups on the system. So in this case, I'm part of the admin group. It makes sense since I'm a faculty member. I'm part of the sudo since I have need to maintain the machine, install tools for courses, that sort of thing. I'm part of the faculty group. So that provides you some interesting information that you can use to establish who you are. I mentioned earlier about being able to list files. I can show hidden files. That's something I didn't mention earlier with the ls tac a, and it'll show all these files that have a dot in front of them, like .cache and .bashrc, are all your hidden files. And I can even combine things, long format with hidden files. And it's going to show me all those hidden files, the things that you didn't see earlier and it looked like it was empty. Well, they're there. It's just they're just not necessarily listed by default. So let's see here. What do I want to? So the next thing you probably would want to do is to be able to make a directory. So we use the mkdir, make directory command. So I can say make directory, and I can say make a directory Leone. I can say make a directory Octavia. And if I do my list command without the hidden files, it's going to show that I created two directories. And depending on the system, it may color code directories differently to show that they are the directories. And you'll see that there's this little bit out here in the long format listing that also indicates that they're directories. if I want to, I can change into one of these directories with the change directory or cd command. So if I say cd Leone, I am now in the Leone directory. And you notice that my directory format listing here changes to my home directory /Leone. So now I'm in this particular directory. If I want to get back to the parent directory, I can say cd ... and I've moved back up one, move into my Octavia directory. I'm now down here. If I say cd ... it just keeps me in my current directory. So if I say cd ... takes me back up. So the next command would be to, if you really need to know where you are or get the full path to where you are, you can say pwd for personal working directory, and I'll give you /home /mic rubble. Alright. If I need to, if I need to work with files, one of the things that I may need to do is copy a file from one place to another. So I can say copy my text file that I created earlier, and I can put it into my Leone directory as test2.txt. Right? So source and destination. And then if I change directory into the Leone directory, do my long listing format, and indeed my text file is there. If I need to, I can move a file. So I could move this test file from the Leone directory, go back up to the parent directory and over into my Octavia directory. And if I change directory over to my Octavia directory and do a listing, it is now in there. And if I were to list what was in my Leone directory, I find it's empty now. So, moving a file or the mv command is another important item. It also allows renaming, essentially, if I wanted to do that as well. So I may decide I want to remove a directory. Maybe I don't want that text file anymore. So I can verify that that file is in there. It is, and I can use the remove or delete command, which is rm. Give it the name of the file, and I can hit enter, and it's now no longer there. The entry to it is essentially removed. Contents are still on the disk. You'd have to use more extreme measures to ensure that it was overwritten. So I go back up a directory. If I want to remove the directory itself, I can use the rmdir command or remove directory command. I have to make sure it's empty first before I can remove it. So I do rmdir, say Octavia. It returns back. I can do long format. I only have the Leone directory present now. If you get overwhelmed by all the stuff that's on the screen, clear is the command to use, and it clears the immediate contents of the screen. And it's also probably, if you need to get help on any individual command, you can simply type manual, or M-A-N, and then the name of the command. So, for instance, clear has a general commands manual page. Clear clears the terminal screen, right? And it clears your screen, and it may even do your scroll up buffer if it has a particular capability on it. So you do all that, and this is probably one of the shortest commands in terms of the documentation that's on it. Press Q, and that'll get you out of there. Alright, what else do we have that you may be needing to use? If you need to get a file from the internet from the command line, wget, if it is installed. Let's see if it is. It is. So we can use that to retrieve a web page. And you can use Control Insert and Shift Insert for copy and paste from a web page that's outside of the department server to get that info, and to then be able to download. So if I were to open up a new window, go out to the Gutenberg website, let's find something to download. Let's see here, we got there. Let's look for recently added ebooks or something along those lines. I don't know, Zion National Park from 1951. Let's see here. Let's get the plain text version. That's probably the easiest to work with on a command line. So I'm going to copy the link address. Make sure that really gives us what we're interested in. Yeah, it looks like it'll be fine. So come back over to the department server inside of PuTTY. So say wget. I do my shift insert. Puts the web address URL into the program. I can press enter, and it will have downloaded the 45 kilobyte file from the website, which is a nice command to have available for use. I can display the contents of that file using the concatenate or cat command. It's one possibility. I could also use the less or more commands to display it. If I use the cat option, this is 59, oops, it is 59867, and it'll start just displaying all the text from the beginning to the end. It's probably better to use the more command. That'll take you from the top to the bottom, and it'll show you the very first part, and you just hit space to get to the next page, and then hit it again, and it'll just kind of keep going through the information and tell you all about, in this case, Zion National Park. Right? So if I need to go back, I can press B to go backwards, and space to go forward. F will also take you forward. I think it does it a little bit differently in terms of how much it'll move forward between, say, F or space and B. Let's see here. I think B and F will do one screen scrolling at a time. And if I want to go from the back, if I want to start at the end and go backwards, I can do less. That'll take me to the end. And then it'll take me around back to the front again. The head and tail commands will display the first or last end lines of a file and then terminate. So I say head 10 for 59867. Gives me the first 10 lines of this ebook. I say tail 59867. It gives me the last 10 lines of that file. And I can, and by default it'll be 10 lines. I didn't have to really put the 10 in there before. If I say head -n 15, it'll give me 15 lines. Right? And if I'm not really sure what it does, again, I can just look up the command and it'll tell me, you know, -n with the number, right? That'll give me, you know, I think it'll allow, it's pretty flexible about how it'll take those. So -n5 will give me 5 lines. If I just say 5 without the -n, it won't do that. So you need to actually put it in there. So, yep. And if I say the same for tail, it'll do it as well. Right. If I need to search the contents of a file, I can use the grep command. I wanted to find every instance of Zion in the file. I can type the search phrase and then the file I want to search, and it's going to give that to me. I can use something like more to kind of limit the amount of screens that go by me at one time. And I use this thing called the pipe symbol in between two individual commands to take the output of one command and redirect it into the input of the next command. I can also use something called the word count command. I can just say, give me the number of lines where it occurred with WC space TACL. And then I'll say there, well, 46 lines where it was mentioned in the file. And there's lots of other switches. I could do -I for case insensitive in case someone typed lowercase i instead of uppercase i. And I can ask it to give me the line of the match, right? I say grep-in Zion in the 59867 file. It'll show me like line 277, line 283, so on and so forth. If I need to, again, I can just put it through, pipe it through more, and it'll do it in a little bit slower rate. So another command that's important to know about is being able to redirect the output. And we can redirect the output of a file on the command line using the redirection operator, the greater than symbol there. And for instance, we can redirect, say, the output of the concatenate command. And we can even redirect standard output into a file and display it using a tail or another command. So let's say we build a buildings file. So it's cat greater than buildings. And we just put some of those names in there. Faculty. And Control D when we're done. And let's say we want to show the contents of the file we created. We can use the tail command, tail buildings. And we want to add some more to it. We use the double redirection operator. So we'll give the file name buildings, add in some more building names. Pioneer, Oakwood, and I think I'm done. And then I can just show the file again. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's tail or building, tail or a cat, if it's less than one screen full. And then I could combine multiple files together to create one big file if I want to. So cat buildings, would be more buildings. Let's say I can do tab if I want to and get a list of all the possible files. Let's say additional buildings, right? And I want to put it into my big file, right? And just do that. So cat buildings space additional buildings, redirection operator, my big file. There you go. And then we can just say tail my big file. And you'll notice we have building 1, 2, and 3 at the end of all those items there. So. And actually, in this case, because there's more than 10 lines, we don't see the full contents, right? So we say cat my big file. Then we'll. We can also redirect the input from files or from standard input. The sort command would be a good use of this particular item. So let's say we wanted to get all those building names in alphabetical order. We would just simply say sort input operator and redirection operator, and then we'll just say buildings. And then it just outputs to the standard output all those building names in alphabetical order. But it's not permanent. The original file is still as we would expect it to be. So I can also redirect both standard output and input. So let's say we want to sort the buildings file permanently. So we'll use sort, the input redirection operator, the name of the file buildings, and the name of the new file with the output redirection operator. We'll call it sorted buildings. And we'll concatenate the sorted buildings. We'll note that it's sorted. We can, in general, I alluded to this earlier, we can redirect the output of one command to another without using temporary files. And that's by using the pipe symbol. It's that pipe key that's sorted to the right of the closing bracket key on most keyboards. I could try it on something like who's ever logged into the system, but I think I'm the only person. So that won't be too terribly interesting. Maybe a better command to use would be just take the list of files in my home directory and use the pipe operator to put that into the sort command. and in that case you can see it sorted all the items that would be normally listed in the listing command and put in alphabetical order. So, and piping just helps to make the transfer of content from one command to another easier without creating a large number of intermediate files. Let's see here. So we can also, there's a few other commands we can use. We can use the word count command, as we kind of showed earlier. They get counts of bytes and words and lines and files. For instance, we could get the number of bytes, not characters, in a file by using the WC space tac-c command. Give it that ebook that we downloaded earlier. And it'll tell us 46,317. If we want characters, we can use wc-tac-m and give it the name of that ebook file, and it'll tell us, 46,227. Now in this case it's a text file, so it pretty much lines up one for one. Hidden characters, non-printable characters aren't obviously going to be displayed, so there's going to be a little difference in terms of the byte count versus the character count. We want to find the number of lines, wc-tac-l, and give it the name of the ebook, 986 lines, and we can get the number of words with tac-w, 6,522 words. Unix systems support wildcards. We typically use the asterisk character, which will help us match one or more characters when we need to. If we want to just match a single character, we'll use the question mark. So if we wanted to list the text files, and we know they have txt extensions, we would use asterisk.txt. And it will list two files for us, because there's only ones with a txt extension. If we wanted to just list all the building files, we would say ls star building and asterisk, and that would give us additional buildings, and sorted buildings. Another wildcard that Linux or Unix-based systems support is the question mark character, and this is a wildcard that will just match one character. So let's say I'm in my ebooks directory and I want to find all my ebooks that start with 5986 and then have anything after that as a matching character, and then -0.txt. If I press enter, it'll give me two particular books, 59867 and 59869. If I list all the books in the directory, obviously I can see those two and two other ebooks that are in this particular directory. So that's another useful wildcard that will help you as you move around the system. So as you're working on the CS department server, you may wonder, do I use file extensions or do I not use file extensions? File extensions can be a helpful tool for documenting what type of file it is. So feel free to go ahead and use them whenever you want to. You don't have to. People that spend most of their time on Unix-based systems tend not to use them. So if you need to know what a particular command does, you use the file command, as I mentioned earlier. So if I say file and I look at all the files that are in this directory, I'm told they're all Unicode files. And sometimes there's extra descriptive information about those files, and that's also listed in the output to the standard output. Other helpful tips for when you name files: try to avoid spaces on Unix-based systems when possible, because then you have to quote everything, or use escape characters in order to deal with the spaces. It's not impossible, it's just it makes things a little bit harder. Avoid special characters that can cause problems with scripts or usage of commands. Stick to underscores if you really need to go easy on the eyes and make it easier to read file names. Just stick to alphanumeric, underscore, dot, or period characters, and that'll set you straight. Let's see here. And what happens when you need help? Well, obviously you can Google things, you can use Stack Overflow. There's a lot of really helpful websites. YouTube for finding other videos that delve into commands that I'm not going to get into in this very basic introduction. But you can use the man, which I described earlier. You can use the what is command or the info commands. And if you're not sure exactly what a command is named, you can use the apropos command to find which command you should use. And you give it sort of some sort of a description to help you out there. I could say file, and that would list a lot of things. I could say apropos compression or something, and it's going to list me if I need to deal with compression. It's going to say I can use 7Z or the 7-zip command, 7ZA. I can use some libraries if I'm writing a program. Those are the things in threes. The ones in ones tend to be the commands that I can actually use from the command line. So let's say, and I could obviously grep on those if I wanted to. Let's see here. I propose help, right? And now it'll give me a whole lot of commands. You may want to be a little bit more specific to kind of make it a little bit easier on the eyes. If I wanted to get a calendar, it tells me I can use the cal command, C-A-L. I can use the calendar reminder service. I can use incal, alright? And I can use org, which is a visual command, but you can't really use that because we don't have a GUI desktop set up yet on the systems. So say cal gives me a calendar, so that's nice. I can use date, and that will give me current timestamp as well. So hopefully this has been a nice basic introduction to the command line interface that you can use on our department web server, and hopefully it gets you started with being able to complete your assignments.